first of all, I want to share a story with you, and then I want to share some statistics with you. I want you to think about where you are currently, not only just in business, but in life in general, and ask yourself this question. Am I satisfied with where I am? And I hope that for all of you, you say no. But it reminds me, as I say to you, to ask that question, it reminds me of a statement by one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, who said, a great place to be is to be both ambitious, but content. And I hope that you find that you're content in terms of, all the gratitude, you spent the time, the last few minutes, really identifying hopefully some of the things that you are grateful for, and that those things give you contentment, that you feel good about the blessings that you have in your life. But simultaneously, I hope that you look at it and say, and yet, as fortunate as I am to have those things, those people, this life, there is always room for improvement. So I hope that you can find yourself in a situation where you say, yes, I am content, but I am ambitious. I am not satisfied. I'm always going to work to strive to become better, because this is really what this is about. It's about becoming better, right? So again, I'm going to ask you that question. Are you satisfied with where you are? And I hope the answer is no. And so then therefore, I want you to think about, okay, where do I have to improve? In which ways do I have to improve? What areas of my life would I like to improve upon? Now, before we get into that further, I want to share with you a story that really exemplifies just this very simple concept that I'm going to talk about with you this morning, that I want to share with you. But I think it's a great story that exemplifies the importance of and the power really of this idea. So several years ago, I had an opportunity to go to Palm Beach, Florida. Had never been there before, and if you've never been there, beautiful weather, nice, amazing beaches, warm water. The Atlantic is amazing, and I had an opportunity to tour a $75 million estate. Imagine that, a $75 million home. This thing was amazing. I don't remember how many square feet it was. It wasn't massive, but it was huge. It was over 10,000 square feet. It was probably somewhere between 10 and 12,000 square feet. So a big, beautiful home. But the thing that made it so unique was the fact that it sat right on the ocean, that literally their backyard was the ocean. If you went out to their patio, because it was built right on the ground, right on the beach, you could literally walk out their back door, across their lawn, and then to the sand, the sandy beach of this just this amazing area in Palm Beach. So let me just paint a picture. You walk up to this home, and it has a private driveway, and it's paved, and as you might imagine, stone and brick and wrought iron. And then there's kind of like a parking area that's a private parking area for residents and guests. And then you approach some steps, and you enter what they call like a vestibule, or like this kind of a breezeway, an area that's in between the outdoors and the interior of the home. And then you transition to the front door of this home. Huge, double door, probably 10 feet high, two very wide doors, probably 3.5, 4 feet. So this thing was like 7 to 8 feet wide. That's how big the entryway of this home was. And you walk into the home, and obviously a very large home, very expansive. But the picture I want to paint for you here, in addition to the fact that this home was built to the nines, I mean, no expense had been spared. An amazing, beautiful, gorgeous property. I mean, from the fact that it was built right there on the ocean, obviously a very expensive site, to the fact that the home was built with just amazing high quality materials, nothing synthetic about it. I mean, all the stone was real. You could see that the bricks were handmade. All of the tiles, very expensive. The craftsmanship, the woodwork, all of it, amazing. But the thing, guys and gals, that I remember the most, setting aside all of that I have described to you, was that when you walk into this home, what you saw immediately, and what specifically the owner of this home, it was very evident to me, what the owner of this home believed was the most important thing to him or her, and really what their life centered around, especially in this home. Now, I don't know how many exactly. I remember the number was somewhere around 8 plus, may have been 9 plus 10. I don't remember. I just remember it was a large number of homes that this couple owned. This was one of many homes that they owned around the world. Very interesting. You know, most people would aspire to and dream to live in a home like that and have, you know, one home like that. And these folks have 8, 9, 10 or more homes, I'm assuming, like this around the world. So you walk into this home, and what is it that you see? What was the focal point of this massive estate worth $75 million? Well, before I give you the answer, I just want you to think about, because we're in real estate, think about the homes that you show when you walk in, right? And where do you see is the focal point? What's kind of the core or center of the home? Think about that. If you can, some of you just type in the chat box just what you see is the center of the core of most homes that you're showing. Where do people seem to be spending most of their time the way the home is laid out? I'll give you a second to answer that because I don't want to give the answer yet. So Dominique says the kitchen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the answer. Anybody else? Yeah, that's what I was looking for, Jeanette. The great room or the kitchen. In other words, yeah, you've got the kitchen, but you've got the family room, all of that combined for the family to gather to eat and to, yeah, Jerry says the open area. What is the focal point of the open area or the great room aside from the kitchen? What's the other component? The bar. Okay, after this, everybody, I just want you to know this evening we're going to meet at Tim's house because apparently he has a bar. The table to stand. No, guys, you're missing it. Look, the number one thing that American families do when they get off work, they go home, they eat some dinner, and what do? Yes, knock me. It's the television. It's TV. The television is the core. It's the center of their home in the great room. I mean, the great room may be the space that's the center of the home, but it's the television that is the nucleus of that space. Would you not agree? Please say yes. Give me some responses through the chat line there. Okay, thank you, Iris. Yes, it is. Now, okay, yes, thank you. So now what I want you to do is I want to transport all of us back to that elaborate estate that I described and what I saw when I walked in. I walk into this home, and immediately to my right is this massive, and I mean massive relative to what any of us could possibly imagine. Yes, it's a library. A library. That was the focal point of this home. What was so interesting is that as I walked in and started to take all of this in, it became evident relatively quickly that the most important thing to these people was their library, and more specifically, the books in their library. And if I could paint a picture of the library, do you know in the movies you see these libraries that have the shelves that go up a couple of stories? It's not just one shelf, not one like 8-foot shelf. It's like 16 feet high, and it goes along an entire wall and then across another wall. And it has, if you've seen those in the old libraries, the ladders that lean against the bookshelves on rollers and slides, and then you can just push the ladder all along the bookcases to access the books at the higher level. Well, this library had one of those. It was amazing. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. The woodwork, the way it was finished, and the books, I mean, to look at them, leather bound, I mean, the classics as well as modern stuff, but books, all of this knowledge. I stood back and I looked at it and I was absolutely in awe. I was in awe. My jaw dropped. And it had me enthralled. I was entranced. It was amazing to me on so many different levels for so many different reasons. And I stood there in absolute awe, and there was a woman standing next to me. And I thought she was in awe as well. But then I heard what she said. In fact, she turned to me and she said, and she asked this question. She said, well, yeah, I mean, it's nice and everything, but I wonder if he's even read any of these books. This gal she was questioning whether these people had read any of these books. And I turned to her and I said, my suspicion is that in order to live in a home like this and to have 8, 9, or 10 more of them, that he and she have probably read a lot, if not most, of these books. But I found it very fascinating that this gal had looked at this library and questioned as to whether any of the books had been read, which didn't say anything about the people who owned the home. It said so much about her and her mindset. My suspicion is this. I didn't ask her, didn't have the conversation, but my first thought was, I wonder how many books she's reading. I'm wondering if there's a library in her home and what that library looks like. And not to be critical. I'm not here to be critical about this woman and her perspective, because the fact is that her perspective, that her attitude is very consistent with most people in this country, the average person. I want to share with you some statistics that I looked up this morning in preparation for this conversation. 1/3 of high school graduates never read another book, according to one study. 1/3. And 42% of college graduates never read another book upon graduating. The study went on to say that 80% of families didn't buy a book in the previous year when the survey was taken, and that 70% of adults had not entered a bookstore within the last 5 years. Now, maybe that statistic has something to do with the fact that a lot of books, are purchased online now, but still, I mean, when was the last time you went to the bookstore, right? According to the study, 70% of Americans haven't entered a bookstore in the last year. And 57% of books aren't read to completion. So people will buy books, but they don't finish reading them. Now, I want to juxtapose those statistics with these statistics. Warren Buffett reads, guys and gals, 8 hours per day. I looked it up, and several sources say, including Warren Buffett, that he reads about 8 hours per day. In other words, if Warren Buffett is working a 10-hour day, which I'm sure he works more than that, but let's assume that he did. If he's reading 8 hours a day, he's spending 80% of his time reading. Think about that, 80% of his time. Now, Warren Buffett is quoted as saying, he has said in multiple interviews, that he reads approximately 8 hours a day, reads about 800 pages a day. He's a very fast reader, obviously. You might say, well, I'm not that fast a reader. I can't read that many books. Well, the point is that the more you read, the better you get at it. And it's obvious that if he's reading 800 pages a day, this man reads a lot of books. Bill Gates has a goal of reading about 50 books per day. Bill Gates, in fact, what he will do is he will set aside 2-week vacations for reading. In other words, he has 2-week reading vacations where his goal is nothing but to take off time for 2 weeks and just read the books that he wants to read. The statistics are that the average CEO across the country reads 50 books per year. The rich in this country, those who make over $160,000 per year and have at least $3 million in net worth, those people focus on reading and reading books of self-improvement. Whereas you look at the average person, right, who doesn't have a library in their home, and the center of their home is the TV, which when you think TV, what do you think? TV is what? TV is entertainment. See, the average person is looking for entertainment. So if the average person is reading, in most cases, they're reading books that entertain rather than educate. Einstein said this. He said, that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. But you think about that. Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result is insanity. Look, gang, as adults who maybe are not in school, because most of us aren't, we're working, trying to get through our day, aspiring to become more, to achieve our goals. The way to improve and to get better in this journey is to crack open the book or to crack open the Audible book, right? But to learn how to improve, to get better. See, I want to ask you some questions. I'm going to go back to that original question. Are you satisfied with where you are? I hope the answer is no. I hope that there is a yearning, burning desire for improvement, self-improvement within you. Gang, look, I get it. Entertainment is really important. I want you to be entertained. I want you to go out and recreate. I mean, the base of that word, recreate, is recreate. I want you to do that. You know, I want you to take your weekends and spend time with your family. I want you to go on vacations. But are you satisfied with where you are? And if you're not, which I hope you are not, is how do you get to the next level? You know, where do you want to be? I want you to think about that. Take a look at where you are. Be grateful, yes, for everything that you have. All the blessings in your life, the people, your abilities, right? The freedoms that you enjoy. Yes, be grateful for those things. But what needs to change? You know, where do you want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Do you have a clear vision of where you want to be in the future and who you're going to have to become in order to live that life? So the question is, if you do, or you have some idea, my question for you is, what has to change? What has to change? What would you need to get better at in order to be that person to live that life? In other words, more specifically, what is your biggest challenge or challenges that you have to overcome in order to become that person to live that life? See, and I believe that the solutions to those challenges, to figure out what you need to do in order to become that person, it's all right there for all of us in the book, in printed word. So my question for you is, you know, as much as you say or I say that we want to become more and we want to live a better life, we want to get to the next level, my question is, how many books have you read in the last year? Are you reading right now? See, again, this is simply a choice. We have an opportunity to every single day to educate ourselves, to become better, to stay focused on and stay on the track of self-improvement. Or we can do what the average person does and just simply go through the days habitually by just emotion and by habit, and just simply do the same thing over and over again every single day and expecting a different outcome. Entertaining ourselves. Gosh, you know, it was a tough day today. The business is tough. Competition is tough. Boy, it's tough working with buyers. Inventories are low. Highly stressed working with my clients. You know, just they don't appreciate me. I'm unappreciated. And all the demands at home and all the crazy stuff going on in the world. I need to go home, eat some comfort food, and turn on the TV and just simply recreate. Look, and I get it. I get it. But man, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. And it will lead to a life unfulfilled. It will lead to an average life. So again, I'm going to ask you, what do you want to change? What's your biggest challenge or challenges? And how are you addressing those? So I'm going to give you some recommendations in terms of some books that I believe that, broadly speaking, are some of the best books that we can read for our own self-improvement. But I want you to go back to that question of, you know, who do I want to become? What is my biggest challenge in becoming that person? And how am I going to address those challenges? And then really identifying books that will allow me to speak to and learn more about those things. You know, over the last 12 years for me, in terms of the nearly 52 years that I've been alive, these last 12 years have been the single most important years of my own personal development and growth. And it is not a coincidence that the amount of growth that I have experienced in the last 12 years exceeds the growth that I experienced in the 40 other years that I lived previous to the last 12. There's never been a period of time where I've learned and grown more than I have in the last 12 years. And what is interesting is that there's never been a period of my life, including elementary, junior high, high school, college, and law school, and combining all of those years together, there's never been a period of time where I've read more books than in the last 12 years. And look, gang, I don't share that with you to say, look at me, because I could be so much better at reading books. My point is, those of you who didn't know me 12 years ago would not recognize that person as compared to who I am today. And here's my hope for myself, that 12 years from now, that those who didn't know me today wouldn't recognize those two people, that they're not the same. See, I work every day to remind myself and to strive towards the importance of reading, that the body of knowledge that is contained in those books is a gift. It is the answer, the key, the gateway to me becoming more. I mean, think about it. You can go and spend $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on a book that summarizes the experience, the lifetime experience of somebody who has failed over and over and over again, all their challenges, and then shared with you how they succeeded and how they stay on top. That for a small investment, you get to really learn and live their life in a short period of time, to take all of that information, that body of knowledge, and to make it yours, so that you can live and learn multiple lives, so that you become more. You become that person who succeeded. You can become the Warren Buffett. You can become the Bill Gates. You can become the Abraham Lincoln. You can become these people that you look at and say, man, it's amazing what they have accomplished. Well, they're not unique in that innately they're different. They're not. They're living, breathing human beings based on carbon. They have no more freedom, no less freedom than you when they come out of the womb, as babies, as children, as young adults, as adults. We all just simply, we have the same resources ultimately when we begin. It's just simply the decisions, the choices that we make, and the paths that we take, the direction that we go. And here's the thing, it's never too late. So if you're dissatisfied, you don't like where you are, things are challenging, you want to get better, or things are great, but you just simply want to get better. Man, the surest and quickest way to do that is to pay attention to the behaviors, the lifestyle, the lessons of others. Those are the opportunities for us to become more. So I'm just very quickly here, gang, because we're out of time. I just want to give you some of the most important books that I have read, the books that have made a significant difference for me in my journey over the last 12 years. I'm not going to talk about them at all. I'm just going to give you the names and just tell you what basically they're focused on without digesting them at all. That way, if there is a particular area when I ask you, what do you need to focus on? What do you need to improve? That as I give you a book that addresses that, you'll know then, hey, I'm going to grab that book and I want to read it because that one's going to address the challenge that I want to address right now. So the compound effect, it's the one that I probably recommend the most. That particular book really is about discipline and consistency and achieving a goal in the shortest period of time, the compound effect. The second book is 12 Pillars. 12 Pillars is a book written by Jim Rohn, and it speaks specifically to success principles in life, just success principles in life. So if you want a book on success principles of life and just getting better in anything that you do, just in living a better life, that book is, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite, 12 Pillars by Jim Rohn. The third book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Again, that one is going to be about life skills and about becoming more through the process of thinking. And then the fourth book is 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. You want to learn how to become a better leader, and gang, we're all leaders. As real estate sales professionals, you are a leader. You're asking buyers and sellers to follow you. One of the best books that you can read on leadership, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. The next book is Failing Forward. That one again is by John C. Maxwell. This is a great book on changing the mindset about the process of getting to the next level of success and what success really means, and more specifically, what failure really means, and really changing your perspective on what that is, and embracing that pain, and really reworking in your mind what quote unquote failure is or what it isn't. The next book is The 5 Levels of Leadership. That one again is by John C. Maxwell. I've read a ton of him. If you're looking to become a better leader, better communicator, one of the best authors in that genre. The 5 Levels of Leadership. Relationships. I've read many books on relationships, but 2 of the most important books on relationships that I would recommend that you read would be Attached, Attached, Attached. And then the second book is The Course of Love. The Course of Love. 2 great books on relationships, gang. The next book is Success is a Journey by Brian Tracy, a great book on success principles in life and in business. Phenomenal book. It's a story form book that pulls principles out of it. The next book, the next 2 books, in fact, on communication. If you want to get better at communicating, better at your listing presentation, better at your buyer broker presentation, better at just one-on-one conversations, better at just communicating with people in general. 2 books in particular. Tell to Win, Tell, to Win by Peter Guber. And then the next one is Talk Like Ted by Carmine Gallo. Talk Like Ted. And then the 2 last books, the second to the last is Man's Search for Meaning, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is about the most, I think, important foundational principle for all people is to discover why you are alive and what your passion is, what your purpose is. This is a great book on discovering that and giving you perspective on that. And then the last book that I want to recommend this morning is The Last Lecture. The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. I think it's Pausche. It's The Last Lecture. You look it up, you'll find it. It's a great book on life principles. It's a great read. One of the most important books that I have ever read in terms of just really having a perspective on what is important and how we're capable of becoming more and doing more, and the importance of us doing that and the impact that it has on other people. One of the most emotional reads that you'll ever find. It's a fantastic book. The book by Brian Tracy is Success is a Journey. And he's written many books, but that one is one of his best. Success is a Journey. Look, gang, I know that you are all focused on personal development. That is why you're on this Zoomcast and you're participating. I get it. My question is there room for improvement? Could you dial it in a little bit more? Tighten those screws a little bit more. Be focused a little bit more. Read a few more pages. Read a few more books. And of course, the answer is, as Iris says, always. So I hope that you decide to cast your lot with those who are rich and have behaviors that are different than those who are poor or average. See, I would love it for you to be able to afford a 75 million. Man, I would love it for me. It's my goal. To be in a $75 million estate and to have the option to not own one, but to own many. See, that is not by coincidence. It's not by happenstance. The fact of the matter is that those people in that home got there because they put themselves on a track to become more, to do more, to live that life. And we can all do that. So let's do it. Let's go out there and take advantage of what this beautiful